This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Ease, California's top one-stop shop website for legal marijuana delivery. With California having legalized adult-use marijuana with the advent of Proposition 64, Ease can now deliver cannabis wherever it's allowed locally, both for medical patients and adult-use customers. But here's the thing. The situation in the Golden State is still a little complicated when it comes to what towns and cities are allowing for what kind of cannabis sales and deliveries to take place. Luckily, Ease has done all the work to make sure their system knows the local rules and regulations for wherever you live. You just need to open up ease.com to see what's available in your town. One more time, that's ease.com, which is spelled E-A-Z-E. Ease.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, January 8th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 404 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is the plans being put in motion by members of Colorado's congressional delegation to protect state legal marijuana from the Department of Justice. Alicia Wallace over the Cannabis picked up on the story of a conference call that took place on Friday among Colorado's top national politicians, in which they talked about ideas for quickly responding to Attorney General Jeff Sessions' recent rescinding of the Cole Memo, a Department of Justice guidance document laying out the ways the federal government was willing to tolerate state legal cannabis. The call included Representatives Earl Perlmutter and Jared Polis, as well as Senator Cory Gardner, who last week threatened to hold up all Senate nominations for the Department of Justice as a response to the removal of the Cole Memo. Representative Perlmutter told the Cannabist in an interview that, quote, "There's now urgency to start moving," unquote, on marijuana-related legislation. This is a good one to click over for the full read. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Canadian marijuana giant Canopy Growth Corporation just announced plans to develop an additional 1.7 million square feet of greenhouse cultivation space in British Columbia as part of a deal from October in which they first signed on for 1.3 million square feet. The company still needs to finalize licensing for the new cultivation space, but that shouldn't prove to be much of an issue, with the Canadian government making the licensing process easier for companies to go through. According to Marijuana Business Daily, Canopy has a current market cap of just under $5 billion US, with a total built-out cultivation capacity of 5.6 million square feet. Our final top story of the day is the news that you can now buy legal adult-use marijuana in the city of San Francisco, California. This is a story we've been tracking for the last few months as city officials have struggled to work out the particulars for how their adult-use market will work, with special attention being paid to the social justice side of the legal cannabis equation. KQED is reporting that on Saturday, 6 medical marijuana dispensaries within the city started making adult-use sales to customers. Swing over to their website for a full list of the 6 adult-use shops to open up in San Francisco, as well as a link to a government website with a searchable list of every adult-use dispensary in the state. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Ease, California's top one-stop shop website for legal marijuana delivery. January 1st brought a new year to us all and legal adult-use marijuana to Golden State residents. But as regular listeners to this podcast know, the rules around cannabis delivery are a little inconsistent throughout the state. When you open up ease.com as a Californian, you'll be presented with all the locally legal options that you have for cannabis delivery. If you're lucky, you'll be able to choose any number of top-notch products from one of Ease's dispensary partners. Others may live in an area where medical patients are the only ones able to make delivery orders, while still others live in places that haven't yet implemented good laws around the industry. The short of it, though, is that you can find that information yourself in less than a minute by opening up ease.com and checking out your local options. If you live in California, like great cannabis products, and enjoy someone delivering them directly to you, then you need to open up ease.com to see what's possible in your local area. That's ease.com, which is spelled E-A-Z-E, ease.com. All right, time for the Blitz. We jump up north to Canada for this one, where licensed medical marijuana provider Aurora, one of the larger cannabis companies in that country, just announced a deal to raise $200 million Canadian, or just over $160 million US, in a convertible debt deal led by Canna Accord Genuity, which is also picking up options to buy an additional $30 million US within a month of closing. Open up new cannabis ventures for all the numbers and details on this one. Picking up their second headline of today, Aurora also just announced a deal to acquire 17.6% ownership of fellow licensed medical marijuana provider Green Organic Dutchman for $55 million Canadian, or just over $44 million US. As part of the deal, Aurora will have the exclusive rights to buy up to 20% of Green Organic Dutchman's annual marijuana capacity, with an option to increase that percentage up to 33% if they increase their ownership stake up to 31%. Medical marijuana patients living in Arizona can rest a little more easily than their out-of-state medical marijuana patient peers, thanks to some foresight by the Arizona lawmakers who originally wrote the legislation legalizing the medicinal use of cannabis. As Tucson.com nicely details, Arizona medical marijuana patients have a number of baked-in protections should the federal government force state officials to cease operating an official medical marijuana program. For one, patients would be free from state harassment for having cannabis just by carrying a printed-out doctor's recommendation and a notarized statement about their needs as a patient. Additionally, any medical patient living more than 25 miles from an open dispensary can grow up to 12 plants at home. If every state legal dispensary were shut down by the feds, every medical patient in Arizona would suddenly be free to grow at home. Turning up to my neck of the woods here in Maine, we have news of a Republican state lawmaker introducing a bill allowing underage medical marijuana patients to be given their medicine on school grounds by medical professionals. Under current law, only school-aged patients' primary caregivers can administer medical cannabis. Representative Deborah Sanderson's bill is scheduled for an initial hearing by the State Health and Human Services Committee on Wednesday and would allow any school-aged patient to be given medical marijuana by someone with which they have a medical relationship with. The state of Louisiana is moving forward with its plans to implement a limited medical marijuana program, even in the face of U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' recent rescinding of the Cole memo. Ashley Mullins, a spokesperson for the LSU Ag Center, one of the two universities selected to cultivate medical marijuana, said, quote, "We are carefully moving forward because we're strictly medical. We're hoping that we're not a state that they're going to target. We feel like what we're doing is still serving the patients of Louisiana," unquote. The state's acting U.S. Attorney Corey Edmondson released a statement signaling that his office did not anticipate treating marijuana prosecutions any differently. The Sacramento Bee has a remarkable story that you really need to click over to, if only to watch the video ad it covers, with the state of California pulling a public service announcement about driving under the influence of cannabis, in which it wonderfully normalizes the use of marijuana. The state's Office of Traffic Safety created an ad to press the need for people to be responsible about combining the use of marijuana and motor vehicles, and was quickly criticized for its tone by fuddy-duddies and prohibitionists. The ad shows a diverse cast of Californians talking about how marijuana helps with things like anxiety, cramps, slowing down one's thoughts, and feeling more balanced, all with the caveat that you shouldn't drive after consuming. A reasonable message for sure that was just a little too normal for critics, who drove the Office of Traffic Safety to pull the ad from the air after just a few days with their loud complaints. And finally for today, we have a great editorial from the Washington Post looking at the possibility of the aforementioned rescinding of the Cole memo by U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions backfiring in his prohibitionist face, metaphorically speaking, of course. This is another good one to open up and read. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. So a horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Hey." The horse says, "Sure." Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.